Hello, welcome back. So the other day I posted some video of a notebook I found when doing some cleaning at my parents' place, and so I got good feedback about that. People seem to like to see these old things, and before I pack everything to where it was, I decided that maybe I could do the same thing with the thing I worked on in my video game career so far. So here is all the things I could find related to when I was working at Adeline Games. Adeline Games is mostly known for VRally, the founder of the company were the people who worked at the Infogram and made the first VRally. And with the success they wanted more, so they negotiated being able to leave Infogram and do VRally 2 as a contract for Infogram. So when I arrived, I actually found my work contract. This is my 1 month temporary contract. So as you can see, October 1998. Before that, it was working at Heliovisions, also called Doki Denki, and before that, Adeline Software. When I moved for Eden, we were working on the Smurf project. Was supposed to take a few months, and 1.5 years later, it was still going on. And I think we managed to release the VRally 2 before the Smurf, so I would have just been not happy. And then that my actual final contract, I guess the test was satisfying. At some point I even got my own cards. As you can see, we were very generous, we didn't use many of them. And the reason is these cards are terrible. Actually these ones are okay. The first batch of cards we had were in plastic. And what do you do with business cards? You take notes, you write the name of people, you take notes of the next appointment, and with plastic business card you can't write. Terrible idea. So when I arrived, the first game they were working on was VRally 2, the PlayStation version. I think that was the first big success of Eden. But contractually, the rest of the team was also working on the Nintendo 64 version of VRally. I didn't do much. I helped optimizing things like the zip compression in the cartridge. And unfortunately, it's a cardboard box, so it's in pretty bad shape. Did not really like the transport to Norway. But what's interesting is that the manual is signed by Harry Vatanen, the famous rally driver, and we can find reference to that in the Infogram marketing blog. So let's see if I can get that. Imagine interactivity. So basically they are presenting what they call the VRally universe. It's things which were distributed for business discussions, marketing, talk with different publishers. You get the sales numbers. So VRally sales from July 97 to December 98, 2.3 million in Europe, 150,000 in Asia, 300,000 in USA, 180,000 in Australia, rest of the world 70, total 3 million units. Then interview of Stefan Baudet, who was Stefan Baudet is actually relatively famous out of Eden. So he was a studio head. Now he's working for Ubisoft, I think, or maybe he moved since. But he was also one of the programmers of some famous Atari Amiga game called North and South, about civil war in the USA. It was quite a good game, very fun. So more interview. So some statistics about the features of the game. So VRally 97 Championship Edition is the original one. So VRally Edition 99, that the Nintendo 64 version. I hope I'm not saying stupid things. And then you can see there were some Game Boy Color version. I remember testing it. It was cute. I don't think it was very playable. Then we arrive VRally 2. So VRally 2 is really much better than VRally 1. VRally 1 had some handmade dynamics and physics with quite broken things. Like you could have touch 1 pixel of something and the car would jump vertically over the 3 lines. There we go. Arrive at an end, consultant on VRally, so the guy who has been signing the issue. So he actually been in the office. Now the term consultant, I think it was just the guy contractually had to come a few days, say yeah good on some photo shoot. If he was consulting, I was not. It was not on my pay grade. I didn't know about it. And then glossary of returns and things. So yeah. Marketing blurb. I found some more here, but dedicated to VRally 2. Standalone, so I think it was things they were putting in the stand and during the computer shows, and maybe distributing in shops. So as you can see, I have quite a lot of them. And so, when we were done with VRally 2 on PlayStation on VRally 99, a small part of the team started to work on the Dreamcast and PC version. So that's PC, PlayStation. So, and for all these, we were basically 2 programmers full time. One working on the PC version and one working on the Dreamcast version. That was me. And we had a common tool programmer working on the improvement to the track editor, things like that, helping re-export all the levels. And we basically had one guy in charge of doing all the new tracks, making them work better with the new physics engine. And a few artists working to make improvement of mesh, but that's about it all. And the rest of the team was starting to work on the next project. And one of these next projects was a contract for Electronic Arts, Need for Speed Porsche Unleashed. Not a well-known game. Depending on who you ask, it's either one of the best Porsche game ever made or one of the worst Need for Speed. I don't think Eden was really responsible of the quality of the game. There were some EA cops inside, and there were some pretty nasty moments with the guys from EA going into the office with Stefan, and then Stefan going out, looking at the team and saying, "From now on, the weeks are 6 days." Yay, good way to motivate people. But yeah, all in all, the game was released, not bad at all. VRally 2 Dreamcast and VRally 2 PC. The main difference is that we rewrote the physics to be using floating points instead of integer, which improves the car handling a lot. And here I found, with my still beautiful handwriting, the list of things to do on the Dreamcast. So, accelerate, improves loading time of everything. Have the menu in high-res Dreamcast format being worked on. Add fades and transitions. Under the VMS, the small VMS is a small thing, the memory card for the Dreamcast, which has a built-in screen. So you can display things. And here I was planning for scores, configuration, number of players, information for the track editor, etc. Handling and configuring pads on vibration pack. Have sound library, Digne de ce nom. Yeah, deserving of the name, with spatialized sound and everything. Atmospheric effects, snow, fog, rain, that was done. Real-time lightning, lights during night, light flares on the back when braking. That was done as well. Dirt and smoke to improve shadows as well. Catenage, which is a very technical word, which means patching. This is catenage. Patching the texture to make it look like there is dirt sticking to the car of the body. The patching the name of the game, or the name of the player, which normally, I don't know if we see it here, but yeah, on a rally game you're supposed to see the name of the driver on the car. Make the multiplayer 2, 3, 4 players, handling, which means handling multiple windowing and clipping. Arcade mode, rally mode, VRally mode, not working. Track editor, track generator, and then improvement to the 3D system. Clipping, backface culling, it's in English now. Correct backface culling, handling multiple UV mapping at the same time. So multiple layers of textures. So you can have the body color on some text, on some environment shadow on it. Cockpit view, yeah, loading screen, multi-language, not working anymore, multi-language. Cockpit view should be including in the car, outside, should be working in all the game mode. Switch the dynamics to floating point, including matrices and animation. Remove non-compiled scripts. Being worked on environment on Windows, and Adeline, which is a 3D video rendering library from Eden, in native code, and it's at 80%. What that means, and I think that's all. Yes, some obscure thing, I don't remember what it is. The reason is that there is all that, is that Eden was using some standardized homemade middleware. And the first thing I did, and that we did on PC, was to basically make a PlayStation 1 emulator on the Dreamcast by making all the PlayStation game runs natively on PC on Dreamcast. The advantage of doing that is that you can easily get the game going and benefiting of all the improved memory usage and things like that, which allows you to have the rest of the team start working on a longer track, bigger textures and things. But the problem is when you show the version to a goon from Infogram, like the producer of Hell, who was watching porn using all the network bandwidth. Hi to you, I really like you. The problem is that this type of guy who had zero knowledge on everything in Ego thought that, oh, the game is almost finished. No, it's not. It barely started. It just looked like it's finished. And which added some insane pressure and made it very much harder to negotiate making a good game. If we had followed this moron, VRally on PC on Dreamcast would have been running at 30 FPS. And anyone who been playing with racing games knows that. Under 60 FPS, it's horrible. You miss curves, the handling is horrible. Yeah, so we got the game running quite fast, but it took many more months to get it running after that. But yeah, it was quite of good. So some are the version, some are the demo version, some attract thing to put in magazines. Here that's a bunch of Dreamcast version. Here I'm not quite sure. I think it was an internal build for Infogram. And that one, as you can see, has the red Sega logo, while that one has blue colors. So I believe that one was for not the European market. Now I'm not quite sure if it was for Japanese or if it was just a pre-production or not. So we got some quite good review actually. VRally 2 Expert Edition. With some nice pictures. and how cards were modelized. Ooh. And yeah, we have one here. Yeah, actually we also had these things, including some marketing thingy that you're supposed to glue on the wall, and it shows a car. Yay, look! That one is supposed to be limited edition something something, specially made for VRally. The problem is that as many things I moved to Norway, they got crushed in the post. So pro tip, take these things in your hand luggage. So some more magazine. VRally 2 years later, so that's just a very short one. Infogram at the Corsica Rally, the art of sponsoring. So if you knew that back in the days, for 99 francs you could relook your PlayStation 1 with some fancy decal. So with a presentation of the current state of the game while they were doing the rally. You can see how realistic it is. It almost looks like the same. On the Space Kingdom. And I believe, yeah, VRally 2, the apotheosis of rally on Dreamcast. So, that's not VRally. Now we have VRally. VRally Expert Edition 2. Lots of photos, nice shots. One of the things that everybody really liked about VRally was the track editor. So what they are saying is that the track editor is very well made. A few seconds are unnecessary to get familiar with many functions. That allows you to create tracks at up to infinity. You can make circulars on linear tracks. You just add the small parts to parts, or let it automatically by letting the computer generate it. You can choose the road elevation, weather, and of course the landscape. And then you can try it without quitting the editor with a car of your choice. So you can select a lot of things. And special mention to the fact that you can play alone, with 2 or 4 split. Which, by the way, still run at 60 FPS if you are using the VGA box. Because yes, it supports both PAL 50, PAL 60 and VGA. And we got 91%. VRally Expert Edition 2 is a racing game which will know how to reconcile, is that the word, the fans of asphalt with the one of the other type of road. The impressive number of circuits on the number of cars is enough to have everybody happy, but after you've tried the track editor, it will be impossible to leave it. So that one, VRally 2. And then on the next generation of console, we got the VRally 3, so that's the Xbox version, GameCube version, PC CD-ROM version, and another GameCube version, obviously for the Japanese market. We'll be sorry to will not translate that, I do not speak. On a small anecdote, so now that it's done. Was it last year or the year before? I got contacted by some Brazilian or Argentinian, I don't remember, player who was very sad because they wanted to play VRally in their language, and all we had was German, French, English, I think, maybe one more language. He wanted to localize the game, and since I'm easy to find on the net, they asked me, So I tried to get the official authorization to do that, and it was a quagmire of yeah, who owns the rights, because Adeline basically got bankrupted in meantime, then got recreated, but VRally was made by Infogram, and Infogram died and became Atari, and then bankrupted, but not the American version, only the European version, whatever. So what I did is that I asked the guy to send me the files, I told him what to change, translate, and I managed to recompile my conversion tools, and after 1 or 2 weeks of back and forth, he got his files correctly running, and he can play in his right version, and you can find the version on YouTube. But since I did not give the tools, I believe we are in legal whatever. It's not actually like I gave them any code or data. They started from their own stuff. So there you go. So that was VRally. But Eden did not only do racing games. We also had some small things like that. Titeuf Mega Compet. So Titeuf is probably only known in France, Belgium. It's basically like it's a comic cartoon for children. And one of the guys who worked in VRally was bored and he wanted to do something not with games, so they got the IP for doing that. And he's now working at Ubisoft, and he's a guy who made the first rabbits, Crazy Do Slap, I don't remember the name in English. The thing with the crazy rabbits doing crazy things. So yeah, I guess it was his style. They of course also did some racing game. So here we have Test Drive Unlimited, which is quite good. Especially considering that there was no network infrastructure on consoles when it was done. If a lot of people now these days can easily use Xbox Live Arcade or PSN to do matchmaking on the huge multiplayer games, you probably somewhat have to thank people who decided to try to do that when it was not even considered by Microsoft. We got Microsoft telling us, yeah, sure, you can do a network game, you need to use our servers. Okay, but are you sure that it's going to work? I mean, we have a huge amount of data, players, bandwidths. Yeah, no problem, we've been doing that, blah, blah, blah. And when we gave them the number of, on the type of game, when they understood what they were asking, what they realized that, yeah, it's not going to work. So ultimately, you authenticate with Microsoft servers, but all the hard work is done by somebody else's server who actually know what they're doing. But yeah, that's always a problem when you interact with non-technical people who give you canned answers, and it adds months of negotiation until somebody who actually understands the question actually acts. And then, so at some point we got a bunch of Infogram people leaving, and they joined, and they wanted to do, they didn't want to do rally games. And one of these people worked on and I found that Starshot Space Circus Fever. Starshot is a game who's never been released, and these people basically have been working on this. Not sure what it is. Let's think like Mario Odyssey, Zelda-ish, Circus, Nintendo 64, Mario. It was very complicated, probably why. Basically, it's a itinerary circus using spaceship to go from place to place, and some adventure happens there. So we worked on that for many years. It never gone anywhere. So these people wanted to actually do a game, which is how we came to Bewitch, which will be released as Kaya Dark Lineage. A game involving the natives, the evil wolfens, and Kaya and her brother, as well as evil, I think it's Brazil, I'm not sure anymore. And so that was a time where we did a lot of design document. So this is a playable demo. What do we need for the playable demo, which would allow to negotiate having the budget for working on it? So this level will be on 3 islands. The objective is to cross all the 3 to reach a new isle where will be the next level. The player has total freedom for which way to take. He can choose between many depending on his style game. Estimated gameplay is 15 minutes for the shortest way and 35 minutes for the longest one. Then you gain the general map of the area with the Wolfen workplace. Yeah, and that's the various altitudes. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That one is higher. That one jump up, and then it goes down. So this is a lake made of shells, half submerged under the lake. At the bottom of the shell you can find bonus, and the entrance is underwater. So that's an area you can climb up on. Some platforming. That's a place where, how do you call that? Mirador. Observation tower. And you can destroy both at the same time if you manage to use your boomerang to cut the rope. Part of the island, that one is tilted 30% with the rest. Various transportation, guarded the bridge. Some more climbing with a waterfall. On the page it does not want to show itself. Come on. Some more floating island bridges. So these are tunnels network created by wind blowing. So general rules on how things work, describing some. So objective: go to island 2. Method 1 takes the elevator. Method 2 use the airstream. You start by walking or on a convoy. Is the bridge destroyed? Yes. We not. Then you go there, which forces you to use air. Else you can use. So yeah, some basic flowchart. What happens if alarm is started? If no alarm, and basically how to pass the various challenges. Second island, same thing. 26 pages for a demo. That's not bad. I've seen games with less than that. And that's about it for that one. And then we have that one, which I believe I wrote together with actually the guy who wrote Titeuf. I was working originally on Bewitch as a game coder, and at some point I refused to work on a task because I told them that it was a pointless task, it would not work in the gameplay, and whoever worked on it would have to revert all their work and work on something else, and I didn't like to work on shitty temporary thing. As it happened, Laurent took the task, did it very nicely, exactly as asked in the design, and then they tested it in game, and then they realized that there were way too many issues. It did not work with interacting with the other part of the game, so it was canned. So Laurent spent like 1 or 2 months on the feature. It was a floating cloud that you could hide in, and when you were in the cloud, Wolfens could not see you. The problem is that they wanted to have things like wind gust and fans, and the game had to manage the position of the cloud, and it should be. This was before pixel shaders, so just the fact of showing a semi-transparent cloud around the character without it looking absolutely horrible with visible layers was insane. Yeah, so it was cancelled. Laurent got pissed off as well, and both of us decided to ask if we could go work on the tools. which is how I stopped working on the games from that moment. And then I worked on purely on technology, which is why my business card say Michael Pointier, Game Technology Manager. And I'm doing the same thing at Funcom. So the problem with Bewitch is that it was a non-linear game. And we wanted it to be like Jack and Dexter, which means you don't see loading time. You have the first loading, but then when you go from point A to point B, everything should be super streamlined, smooth, nothing noticeable. So we had to do a lot of optimized loading, which means pre-computing packs of data that could be swapped out in real time. But it was also one of the biggest games in terms of assets, so we had to make it so many people could work at the same time, which is why we had to work on the production chain. So what we will need today: so tree structure, high resolution, where you have the 3ds Photoshop files, with a common element, PC specific, Xbox specific, European specific, US specific, because of course that includes things like the branding, the labels, stupid things like the orange Dreamcast logo or blue. If you do a Smurf game, there is no black Smurf in USA because, you know, racism, so they should be white, and they are purple, and in Japan they have to be white because apparently white is a color of evil, not black, which means different assets. That also includes the text. Obviously you have localization, audio. If you have people talking, they have to talk in the right language, so you have to get subfolders like that. Then we have things like intermediate folder, so it's still split by version like that, but instead of being Photoshop on 3ds Max, it's the Eden file format on PNG textures, so they are smaller. And then V2D, V3D, X3D is actual format converted to the final platform, so PlayStation 2 optimized assets and stuff like that. Then they are grouped together in a semi-final format, and final PackZap is a format which is ready to be put directly on a CD version. And then of course you needed to be able to do combination PlayStation 2 plus European demo, Xbox plus US game. So how to create a new file format, new targets, how to visualize everything, links between various things, being able to update files when somebody else is working on it, cleaning, restoring if there is a problem, handling the fact that if a tool file format is updated, even if the asset has not been changed, you probably want to regenerate all these intermediate file formats because they will not match what the code needs. The fact that the system has to be independent of the operating system. This is not a requirement, but some remarks which seems interesting to express. Having a tool independent of the physical architecture of the machine and operating system could be interesting. It seems possible wishable to get some new type of server which are dumb, which are just like elementary file access. So basically I was talking about NAS, but with very high capacity required for the video game storage information. So was the first time we discussed NXN, Alien Brain. Saying about the language should be written in C or C++, the various type, tool, MakeZap, script compiler, etc. Access right, making sure that people can't destroy things. And update of file should be ideally made with a method guarantee the good state of the database. For example, instead of user want to push his wolfen.max, I open the file written on the network, I create it, I close it. It could be possible to create a temporary wolfen.max, blah blah blah, and then swap the two files, which is obvious, but I think this document was written 19 years ago. Okay, 18. Source control integration. dependency rules, how do you create your big file, how do you say that this should be in this file. And talk about audio dependencies and stuff. And what could be added tomorrow. So parallel rebuild of the resource, being able to show visually differences between asset change, data tracking, etc., etc. And instead of doing a get latest version, that will be the equivalent of do a get latest version which actually work on was playable. So basically being able to tag versions. So yeah, there you go. That's all I have for my time at Eden Game. Wow, 35 minutes, another long one. I hope it was interesting enough. Oh yeah, I forgot. I have also some Kaya. Kaya Dark Lineage, when the dreams of players can be materialized. Kaya, it is platform, combat, extreme sport on role-playing game, and that's why the game was difficult to sell, because if there is any single part of the game you don't like if you don't like climbing, you can't finish the game. If you don't like fighting, you can't finish the game, because you have to at least be proficient in every single thing. So yeah, there you go, this time it's the end. Hello Kaya, bye bye.